Well, all right. Let's dive into these large language models, shall we? Imagine you're trying to teach a machine to understand and generate human language. You want the machine to respond to questions, generate sentences, and maybe even have a bit of a sense of humor. You'd think it's pretty tricky, right? But as it turns out, we can do just that with a method called machine learning, which is a way to teach a computer to recognize patterns and make predictions based on those patterns. Now let's talk about these large language models. They're a specific kind of machine learning model called neural networks. Picture a web of interconnected nodes, sort of like neurons in the human brain. These nodes are organized into layers, and each layer transforms the input it receives from the previous layer in a specific way. Eventually, the output at the final layer is the prediction or generated text. One such architecture is called the transformer. It's a clever little thing that makes use of something called attention mechanisms. These mechanisms help the model understand the relationships between different words in a sentence. It's like when you're reading a sentence and you have to remember what was mentioned earlier in the sentence or even paragraphs before. That's what attention mechanisms help with, and they're crucial for understanding context and making sense of the input. Now, to train these large language models, we need lots and lots of text data. We feed the model all sorts of text from books, articles, websites, and more. It learns by trying to predict the next word in a sentence. The more it trains, the better it gets at making these predictions. And here's where things get interesting. As the model sees more and more examples, it starts to learn grammar, facts about the world, and even some reasoning abilities. It learns all this just by predicting the next word. It's a bit like a baby learning to speak by listening to its surroundings. Of course, there are some limitations. These models can't learn from new information unless they're retrained, and sometimes they make mistakes or generate nonsensical answers. But as we keep refining and improving these models, we're getting closer and closer to creating machines that understand and generate human language in a way that's almost indistinguishable from you and me. So in a nutshell, large language models are neural networks that learn to understand and generate human language by predicting the next word in a sentence. And while they're not perfect, they're getting better and better all the time. It's an exciting field with a lot of potential, and I can't wait to see what we'll discover next.